Hey, what is up guys? Guitar Rock here, welcome back to another counter side video. Alright, today's video is going to be about Fusion Core. And I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to make this sort of like tier list or guide on which Fusion Core you want to prioritize for in terms of your characters. Alright, so hopefully this guide or this tier list can help you guys decide better on which characters deserve to use Fusion Cores on. Like ideally, you know, there are characters that deserves it, and you need to know that Fusion Core, these things are quite expensive. Now, if you guys are not aware, the limit break basically once you reach level 100 for every character, you can use either the dupes for characters afterwards, or you can use Fusion Core. Fusion Core is like the universal currency without needing dupes, right? So Fusion Core is going to be way more valuable, and ideally you want to only waste this for characters that actually can benefit from them. Now you need to know what Fusion Core or what getting your characters from level 100 to 110 does. So basically you can see right here, they will get 2% more stats. Every single one of their stats right here in the units info, they will get 2% more HP, 2% more attack, defense, crit, hit and evasion. So that is going to increase. Skill haste doesn't increase. Those stats that's like from the equipments, those doesn't increase per se, right? So 15 Fusion Core will increase your character's level by 2. Basically one dupe is equivalent of about 5 Fusion Core because you need 15 Fusion Core to increase 2 level. So one SSR character is going to need 75 Fusion Core. That is a lot of Fusion Cores for one character ideally. So with that being said, let's go. We're going to divide the tier list into multiple categories. And it's going to be very simple. Utmost priority. And then we have a maybe but no rush. And then only you if you have extra. And last but not least, nope, unless you are a whale. Alright. So, Fusion Core, you know, like I mentioned, is something that you want to use on SSR characters ideally. So we're going to start off with them. So let's start off with Xiaolin. Is Xiaolin a must for Fusion Core? In my opinion, yes. Now, if you guys are not aware, there's this thing called Rearm that will arrive later on. Alright, so I think Global don't have this yet. So keep in mind, Xiaolin gets Rearm later on. And to Rearm a character, you need them to be 110 anyways. So having your Xiaolin at 110 is going to give you a lot of benefit. And ideally for Xiaolin, if you have dupes, you don't want to use the dupes as well. Because there's 2 versions of Xiaolin, right? I only have 1 version right here. But one more version is the Tower Xiaolin right here, which I do not have. So once I obtain a dupe Xiaolin in the future, hopefully I'll make that version. But for now, Xiaolin is something that you want to keep multiple dupes of, and you know, consider keeping the baseline and use Fusion Core on her. She's definitely worth it. She can benefit from all the stats. Now next up we have Claudia. Now Claudia is a rare unit. Alright, so rare unit, I'm going to toss them to the bottom of the list right here, right? So we're going to put them at the end. Boom, just like that. Oh, by the way, there's one more category called different server has different management ways. This will only be the Guilty Gear collaboration characters, which I assume will never arrive in other regions. So we're gonna put them there for the sake of being there. Frederick Doma, is this guy worth it? Absolutely not. I do think that Frederick Doma is not worth it. So you should I would put him right here. The reason why is because Frederick Doma, in most cases, you want to use him as a debuffer. Alright, to debuff characters etc. He's very strong in raids, in danger close, and the area that he's strong at, you don't really need the extra stats to benefit from that. Now, Amy Rifleman is an SR character, it's not an SSR. But I feel like he's worth it because for now, in global especially, you cannot farm an admin rifleman. He's somewhere in between here, depending on how serious you are in PvP. But you do get a lot more out of the bonus stats of Enemy Rifleman because of how much damage he can deal. So for now, I'm going to put him perhaps... You know what? I'm going to put him in the highest tier. I do think out of all the SR characters, he's the top priority. Now, Awaken Hilde, again, for global server, right now, Awaken Hilde at level 100 is going to tank just fine. Unless you play PvP, then of course you want to make your Awaken Hilde tankier than the enemy's one, which makes sense. So for the time being, it's going to be a little bit complicated, but I'm going to put Awaken Hilde right here, just for the sake of, you know, in the future, you might need it once the die 48 to 50 comes in global. So that's going to be the thing. Geiyon is going to be a bit complicated. Alright, Geiyon is strong in her own rights, and ideally I would put her right here. But because she's almost always banned in PvP, that's where I'm going to like, she's always banned in PvP, and the same pattern seems to follow in global server as well, right? And in PvE, I feel like Rosaria is a way better ranger than her. Alright, if you haven't seen the testing, I think I did this in the live stream or is it in the video, Rosaria does overall more damage than the Geiyon. But of course, Rosaria is also more expensive at 4 cost. That's not to say that Geiyon is a bad choice, but I do think that Geiyon is like somewhere in between these two. It depends, but I would say maybe but no rush is like only if you have extra fusion cores. Now, Evelyn, of course, being an SR, I'm going to put her right here. Karine Wong, I'm going to apply the same thing to Geiyon as well. I don't think Karine Wong needs the extra stats necessarily. Alright, he doesn't need to be like here. So in Karine Wong's case, as long as he has the shield, give him good gears. He's much more gear dependent than stats dependent. He just needs the high skill haste so that he can put his shield out more often and also have the ability to cast CC on the ultimate. So in most cases, Karine Wong should be around same with Geiyon. Now, Lyudmila. This is going to be complicated. Ideally, in most cases, fusion core for your tank, especially to prioritize them to tank better, is going to help them more. But again, it depends. Lyudmila is going to be somewhere here or here. But it's going to depend on whether if you have Awaken Heal Day or not. If you don't have Awaken Heal Day, I'm going to say Lyudmila should be your top priority to get Fusion Core, because the extra HP, you're going to get total of 10% more HP, total of from 100 to 110. That extra HP is so much, alright? That few hundred HP, especially in PvP, definitely helps a lot. Now, Chifuyu is going to be kind of an interesting one, right? I would say she shouldn't be the priority in most cases. I would put her somewhere here. She's strong for sure, and you use her in a lot of contents, but you don't really need the extra stats from her. In most contents that you use her for, she is used to debuff the boss, like decrease their defense and maybe skill seal in certain cases. So in my opinion, in my case, I'm going to put her right here. She's somewhere in between as well. She's kind of a tough one, but I don't think she's a priority as per se, right? Now moving on to Admin Swords Fighter. Now Admin Swords Fighter, I would place her right here as well, right? Maybe, but no rush. This should be your secondary priority. Same applies for Chifuyu. I mean, they are pretty strong. They can be quite tanky, but overall, 110 definitely good, but you know, not really a priority. Especially in PvP, yes, but in PvE, like, is a 110 Admin Sword Fighter going to be like that insane for you to do more damage? I would say you want to focus on the damage dealers first. Alright, so Twins is going to be kind of interesting. If you buy the counter pass, you can get them up to 110, but ideally, they are kind of strong. I would say very strong in PvP and in PvE content as well. So for them, I would definitely give them the priority for sure, up here in the utmost priority. Now, Jaindo is kind of complicated, right? She's going to be somewhere in between here, here, and here. The reason why is because if you play PvP and you play Soldier Team, Jaindo is kind of crucial and kind of like the core character in PvP. But however, I think if you're a casual player and you're much more like general player, she's going to be right here because you can farm her in the side story. And you should farm the side story every day if you want to, and you can get her dupes easily. So I think for most players, I'm going to put her right here, right? Because you can farm her from the side story etc, and she doesn't really need the extra stats unless you focus on PvP for the time being. And in PvE, Jaindo it doesn't make sense to put her next to Chifuyu because I think Chifuyu have more usage than Jaindo, so definitely I'm going to place her below. Lee Jisoo, unfortunately, I'm going to put her... Ooh, hers is going to be quite complicated, alright? She's either here or here. She's good, don't get me wrong, but she never needs the extra stats from the fusion core, right? She always, I would say in most cases, like even currently, you just need her passive skill, you just need her to be present. Even at level 1 Lee Jisoo might not, you know, might not be that bad actually, but of course ideally you want to have level 100 to be able to get the proper gears equipped and stuff. But I'm going to put her right here. I just don't think she's worth 110, alright, for a lot of cases. Yeah, there's some niche stage and conditions that you can make her work in PvP, so I'm going to place her right here. Now Elizabeth, in the future, she will get rearmed, but is she the priority? For now, definitely not. In global right now, it should be here, but of course if you are planning to get the rearm, she's going to be there. But Elizabeth's rearm is like not like the top of the top priority in my opinion. The issue is not because she's bad, the issue is because compared to Xiaolin, you can use her in PvE, a lot of PvE stages. But Elizabeth, you don't really use Elizabeth in PvE, alright? You gotta like manual her to shoot her down, and that's the complication right there, right? If you build Elizabeth, you're solely building her for PvP, right? So PvE, she doesn't shine at all. She has almost no usage in PvE. So I'm going to place her slightly below Xiaolin for sure, even though she has rearm, but she's not being used in PvE, so that hinders her usage overall. Like in terms of priority, I would say, you know, these characters makes more sense. Now let's move on to Maria. Now Maria, definitely, ooh, this is going to be tough, right? I would put her here only if you have extra, because again, you can farm her in the side story and she doesn't need bonus stats. Maria's best best gears is going to be skill haste, and that's about it. She doesn't need bonus attack. Yeah, you might argue that, you know, her plane from the special skill might do more damage, but in most cases, you know, like I feel like she's just staying at the back, and that occurs every few seconds. I'm gonna say that skill haste Maria, if you have higher skill haste, you have a better chance of winning than having higher stats overall. Now, Kim Sorbin is kind of a strong PvE unit, right? But I don't think you want to spend Fusion Core on her. I do think that getting her to 110 as soon as you can is going to be beneficial to you because she's very strong in PvE. So right now, I'm going to put her right here for the time being, right? So she's one of the better SR characters or SR rangers. Now, Ingrid, I'm going to place her right here. Nope, she's an... You know, she's a R unit, you don't need to waste any Fusion Core on her. R units, definitely not. Kang So-young is going to be a tough one. Again, Kang So-young, same with Elizabeth, right? It's like very strong, in the future will get rearm. But do you use her much in PvE? I doubt it. Alright, so again, rearm Kang is not yet here on C server, but I doubt there's a lot of stage that you can benefit from her. Maybe some Danger Close stage, maybe some of the Shadow Hall, Shadow Palace. But I don't think you really need rearm Kang necessarily to be the priority to be there. So I'm going to place her right here for the time being. Now, Sio Yun, she is really strong, but you don't need Fusion Core on her. She's just used as a buffer. You buff your units, you deploy her for the extra stats, bonus attack. So usually for raids and stuff where she shines, same applies for Shinja. So these two characters, you don't really need them to be 110 at all. Now, Zhu Xiang, I might argue that she might need stats more than anyone else, but compared to everything on the list, I don't think she's the priority. So I'm going to put her in the top, maybe a second tier list right here, comparable to Geiyon and Karine Wong. If you have extra, sure, but or else, I don't think there's any rush in trying to get Zhu Xiang to 110 ASAP, right? Alright, so this guy definitely know the admin assault trooper. The admin shield man is a bit complicated. Now, same applies for admin rifleman, right? These two guys, you cannot farm their SR shards yet for the time being. But the admin shieldman just pales in comparison compared to admin rifleman. So I'm going to place them right here. In most cases, I would say those should be your top priority. This one is a bit questionable, right? Some of you might disagree with me, but I don't think you really need him to be 110. Of course, he's going to be a stronger and tankier character overall, but I really don't think he's the priority for especially free-to-play players, right? I feel like if you play the game long enough, you're going to get enough dupes, albeit you can only pull for his shots for the time being. Eddie Fisher, definitely nope. He's a buffer, you don't need him to be 110. Zhu Xiang, no, you definitely don't need him to be 110. Now, Stronghold is an SSR, but despite him being an SSR, he's probably the worst type. So I'm going to place him right here and put, nope, he's one of the worst SSR. Zhu Xiang, Hilde, same applies. These two don't really need anything else other than just be present on the battlefield to be able to give you stats. Some might argue that Hilde can benefit from the extra stats because she can sort of tank a bit, which I can sort of agree, right, to a certain extent, but then you can farm her in the story. So I don't think you want to use Fusion Core on these characters. Now, LSY, Kim Chul-so, obviously, same applies. Kim Chul-so and Ironside, same applies for them. Our characters, you don't want to use Fusion Core. There's no way unless you're a whale, right? Now let's talk about a young LSY. Now, she's a bit complicated. I would say she can be quite tanky as well. Alright, wherever Estarossa is, that's where I'm going to put her. I'm going to put them right here. I would say it makes a lot of sense. You know what? Estarossa should be there because Estarossa has rearm. LSY doesn't. So I'm going to put LSY same with Zhou Xiang. Shouldn't be a priority for now. This should be a priority for Fusion Core for the time being, especially for free to play. So LSY will be next to the rest of these characters. Now moving on, Sparrows will stay here. Roy Brunette is a very strong Danger Close character. But even until today, I can show you, I have been using Roy Burnett a lot in Danger Close, and you don't need him to be 110, believe it or not. He does benefit from the extra stats from time to time, for sure, but mine is still 104. So you don't really need the extra stats per se. He's quite strong, quite tanky even by default. So I'm going to put Roy Burnett here. He's used in PvE a lot. Not that bad of an option if you want to use some spare Fusion Core, but I think, you know, he shouldn't be like, you know, priority. Same applies for Lin Xian. Lin Xian is much more towards the gears, right? It's all about getting the skill haste. You might argue that getting Lin Xian to 110 with Fusion Core is going to benefit her a lot. But again, Lin Xian can be farmed, right? Can Roy Burnett be farmed? Let me check. So apparently you cannot farm Roy Burnett. You can farm Lin Xian, but not Roy Burnett. So there's that, right? There's that to take into consideration. So Lin Xian is even of a less priority than Roy Burnett. But because she's so... I feel like Lin Xian has more usage in PvE than Roy Burnett. Maybe almost equal, but Lin Xian you use her a lot in most cases and you want to deploy her earlier on. So even though she's farmable, if you want to use Fusion Core, it's not too bad, but it's just not advisable as priority. So these two should be around the same, alright? Now Titan, ooh, this is going to be complicated, right? I don't know if he's going to get rearm. There's a mech rearm coming soon. It might be Titan. But level 110 Titan is going to be good in a mech team, for sure. Alright, if you're running a mech team, he's like right here. But for most general players, if you're not running a mech team on PvP, he should be somewhere here. Maybe somewhere here if you're below, because he's not that strong, right? Titan is not. But giving him the extra stats does make him considerably tanky. So that can be kind of interesting. He definitely benefits from the HP especially. Way more than almost every single one of these characters. So you know what? For the sake of the tier list, I'm going to place him like right here. If you are using him as a mech team main, for sure, he's the priority. But for most players, I think he's like right here. Alright, let's move on to Amy, Strickland. Nope. R unit, probably not. Sylvia can be farmed. So Sylvia, again, I don't see why you want Sylvia to be 110. So I think Sylvia is probably the worst one, right, out of this bunch. So I'm going to place Sylvia like right here. I'm going to move Frederick Doma up because that's where these are sort of... It makes sense to 110 them, but Sylvia probably doesn't make sense because number one, strictly a PvP unit. In PvE, you don't really prioritize her unless you run a mech team. And number two, even if you 110 her, she still dies to a lot of things, right? The extra stats doesn't make her survive longer. Xiaolin, you can argue that she can survive in certain aspects, but not Sylvia. She's just way squisher. So I'm going to place her still in the nope, and you can farm for her shards. So Fionn, Amy Strickland, Leaf Allen should be right here. Alright, Choi Ina is also here, not a priority. Again, she doesn't need Fusion Core at all to work. This is an N character, I forgot her name, Maya Hunt, I think. We have Kim Cho-won, should be placed here. This is an N character, R character. Bomi, Xena Bird. Brownie Moore is a complicated one, right? So again, I would say same applies for her. She can only be obtained via the challenge shards, but you don't need her to be 110. Her job is just to be a supporter and give buff to units. So Hiroshi Aki will stay here. Aries, does she need the extra stats? Probably not as well. Now Laura Beatrix, this is an interesting one. She cannot be farmed as of the timing, right? Lara Beatrix is one of the few SR characters that is not farmable. So there might be some argument that using Fusion Core and Lara Beatrix is going to be worth it because in the future she's also going to get rearm. So it's kind of complicated. Is she strong as a rearm? Overall, not too bad actually. She's actually not too bad. She's one of the better SR rearms out there. I want to place her perhaps right here in the top list for the time being because she is very good and she has been banned multiple times. I think two or three times in C servers so far. Now Han Sorim is gonna get rearm. We don't know how strong she is. I'm gonna place her right here just to be safe. Harim again is also not available to farm for now for her shots. Assuming that she's as strong as Lara Beatrix, she should be top priority here. But if she's not as strong, I'll place her right here. There's a chance that she could be, you know, Garbo. But I'm just going to place her right here because she's a lolly and she deserves it. Alright, moving on. Chinatsu doesn't need 110. I will place them right here. Alright, so supporters, ideally, they are at the back. All they need to do is just to support your front line. Your front line is going to need the stats more often than so. The back line, generally no, especially for PvE. They are just there to support and give damage reduction, and skill haste is going to be, you know, the key in using their skills. You don't need the extra stats. Giving them extra HP won't do anything because they are not tanking. Your defender is the one that's in front, generally. Alright, so same applies. Irie gets rearm, but our unit definitely not. Same goes for Yuna, stays here. Lee Min Seo will stay here. Cindy will stay here. The recoilless gunner stay here. Lee Jin, nope as well. She doesn't need extra stats. Nina Anderson stay here. Katie Wade will stay here. She can be farmed in the side story. Karine Wong. Now this is interesting. Karine Wong and Sanai. Both of these snipers are kind of niche, right? They don't have rearm. In the future, I have a feeling they might. But for the timing, Sanae is good in danger close, right? So that's why I'm going to put her right here. She's good in the current boss. But is she good outside of that? You can use her maybe in Shadow Hall, Shadow Palace. She can be decent right there. But other than that, I don't think you get much usage out of her. So I feel like she's somewhere here or here. In danger close, she doesn't need to be 110. As long as her aura is there, she just gives everyone the siege damage bonus. So I'm going to place her right here, right? I don't think she's the priority at all. Karine Wong arguably might be better because she is so useful in PvP and in a lot of stages that needs you to hit air targets specifically. Yeah, I'm going to place Karine Wong here so that she can benefit from the extra stats from her attack. So that makes more sense. Cho Ho Jin, Lumi, nope, no usage at all. Adamant Sniper is an N, this is an N. Now Mia, again, she is an SR that will get rearmed eventually. But I don't think she's like as strong as the others. So I'm going to place her slightly below. Based on what I see, she is used occasionally in KR server. But I don't think she's that broken considering like everybody still use Xiaolin, right? And they have the same cost, which is 4 costs. So there's not much reason or not much incentive to prioritize on her. I feel like she's somewhere here or here. I'm going to place her alongside with Karine Wong. I feel like you don't really use her in PvE. I could be wrong. She's not yet available on C server. Would love to test her out. But like Eugene has her rearm and she's not that strong either. Now, the Thunderbolt and gang. Thunderbolt and AT1 Lincoln and Yubin and Nayuka Minato. These can all stay here because they are strictly a PvP unit. Of course, if you are a mech team abuser, sure. But for normal players that use counter team, you know, I would say you don't really use these characters in PvE. It's a bit of waste to getting them to 110. I wouldn't put them as the priority at all. Same applies for this guy. I don't think you use him in any PvE stage. Maybe in some danger close instances where there's a lot of strikers. Other than that, almost no. Now, Thaddeus Morgan definitely fits here. Gabriel Jun is a SR, fits here. KFC can be farmed. BBC though. Now, BBC is a bit complicated. He's a tank, he's a frontline, but he shouldn't be the priority like here. I would say he's like right here. He's actually not bad. 110 BBC is tankier than level 100 BBC. It's just insane. He heals way more, and he's just more annoying to deal with in PvP. Now in PvE, if you don't have Lyudmila, which some of you might not have, he definitely can tank for you. He can do stuff that Lyudmila can't, right, at 1 extra cost, and he has a bit of built-in heal to him. I still prefer Lyudmila because you're gonna bring in healers anyways, right? But in most cases, I would say this guy is not too bad. I'm gonna place him like 1 tier below. Alright, so John Mason is, you know, again, same. I'm going to put him right here. You don't need 110 for him. You don't need Fusion Core for him. Besides, he can be farmed in the side story. Same applies for Orca. Orca is good, but I feel like because he is farmable, I'm going to place him right here. Or you know what? I'm going to place her right beside Jaindo and Maria. So this can be farmed. And if you really want to, Orca Rearm comes and she's still not 110, sure, it's worth using the fusion core for. But for the time being, definitely not priority for the global server. Now Hound A-Tech can stay here. Terminator is a pretty interesting option. This guy is a tank, is a frontline, but I don't think he's the priority either. You know, level 100 in most cases suffice. I'm going to place him right here, only if you have extra. He's not exactly useless like the rest, because he does have usage in PvE. Alright, a lot of usage as well. Now, Eugene Ream is one of the worst Ream I've ever seen in my life. Okay, besides Yumina, of course. But the thing is, in global, believe it or not, you can farm her shards. C server, you cannot farm her shards because we don't have the side story for C server. But global, you can farm her shards. So I feel like she shouldn't be here. I think she's here. And her being one of the worst Ream, so I'm going to place her right here for the time being. Now moving on, Helicopter stays here, Stinger Gunner stays here, Frederick Yuma will get buff, but we'll see. Yumina, worse Ream as well. I'm going to place her right here, and besides you can farm her shards. So all of these, Arachne, Chariot, Rhino, arguably might benefit from 110, but you never use this guy in PvE, so nope. This guy stays here, this guy stays here, this guy stays here. Young Harim. Now, I do get asked a lot. Alright, Young Harim is a very strong unit, but you don't need her to be 110. She never do any tanking. She doesn't need the extra stats from her attack. She never need the extra stats to get more HP. In most cases, she stays at the back supporting the unit. So all she needs is skill haste and very good skill haste gears. So priority is almost same as Chinatsu right here. You don't need her to be 110. Alright, for supporters generally, as long as they're, in most cases, in PvE especially, right? In PvP, sure, getting extra stats for everyone is going to benefit your units for sure. But in general, PvE cases, let's say if I'm using a level 100 Young Harim for raid, right? And a level 110 Young Harim for raid, it's almost no difference. There's like very negligible difference. I don't think it's worth it, especially if you're free to play, to spend any fusion cores on Young Harim. But she is worth to build 2 versions though, if you want to for Danger Close. Alright, moving on, we have Scout, Woodpecker stays here, this guy will stay here. All of these are the SR units. This guy is strong, but again, I think you can farm his shards as well. Claudia Nelson is here. And Ogami, yep, so far seems about it. So let's see, is there anyone that I miss? Now I'm going to be adding some of these characters along the line. Now Adele, is she worth it to 110? I'm going to argue she is somewhere above Karine Wong, because she's definitely used way more often than Karine Wong in PvE. So that usage, that bonus stats from her from the attack, especially if you give that buff, right? She just does way more damage. Overall, I do think this is going to be much more way worth of the investment for getting the fusion cores in. Awaken Yumina, oh yeah, definitely. Hell yeah. She gets so much bonus from the stats, and she's a frontline. She can tank way better, right? Having the fusion core, for sure. I would prioritize her more than Awaken Heal Day, to be honest, right now in global. Because Awaken Heal Day is already tanky enough at level 100. For PvE content, there's not much that you can benefit from getting her to 110. But Awaken Yumina, you get so much more from the extra bonus stats, for sure. Alright, let's start including some of these other characters for the C players as well, so that you guys can see generally, you know, in terms of the category of characters. Now, this is going to be Ifrit. Now, Ifrit, boom, mass 110. That dude does so much damage, it's just insane. Alright, so for Taras and Estak, unfortunately, I'm going to place them in a nope, because Taras is used to debuff units. You don't need him to be 110. Same applies for Estak, and I do think that Estak is one of the worst snipers, so nope for the time being. Now, Rivet, definitely nope. You can farm her, so you shouldn't do any fusion core for her. Regina is going to be complicated. Alright, she is strong, but you don't need a 110. Now, she does go to the front occasionally, right? She does tank a little bit. So having the extra stats definitely benefit her equally to a lot of characters as well. So I don't think she's like a nope, exactly nope, but I'm going to place her like right here at the only if you have extra. We can see now we have Yensing and Adif Twins. Now Adif Twins, I'm going to place her right here, alright, alongside with the nope, because I don't think you use her in PvE enough to be able to benefit from the extra stats. As of Singh, it's a little bit complicated. She's a striker, but she's not always in front, right? She's like somewhere in the middle most of the time, and she can be used occasionally in some PvE stage, but in most cases you are using her more for PvP. So I'm going to place her right here, only if you have extra. Now Sigma is already here in the global server. Do you 110 your Sigma? Absolutely, I would say no. Alright, same applies to Young Harim. 110 Sigma won't change anything. Alright, your Sigma is tankier, sure, but you need to know how Sigma works. She's a unit that dies eventually. Alright, with how getting more stats doesn't make her survive longer, because everything that she does is based upon her current HP. So in most cases, getting her stats to 110, meaning that she will increase her attack. But that's only if enemy is rushing towards you, and you don't need a same concept for Maria, right? You don't really need her to be 110 per se, but I'm going to place her right here alongside with Maria. It's not the end of the world if you want to 110 her, but yeah, she shouldn't be the priority. Now Janus arguably might be one of the better rangers out there to 110, especially if you run a mech team. And Janus is not bad in PvE as well. So I'm going to place her same alongside with Karine Wong and Geiyon. If they are here, I think Janus is also right there. Now, Alex. Now, this one is something that I can vouch for. I fought a PvP 110 Alex before, and she's a beast. Alright, she tanks so much. 100 versus 110, 110 tanks way more. But because of her limited usage in PvE, I'm going to say right here. Alright, so because if she has more usage or equal usage as Lyudmila, then I'm like, okay. But in most cases, I would say Lyudmila should still be a priority because you're going to use her more often than an Alex. And even arguably Chifuyu might have more usage as well. Now next up we have Lyudmila. Lyudmila is the best sniper, not counting any rearm or any of the what do you call that? Awaken. So I'm going to place her right here. Definitely she can benefit from the stats, and I do think that she does a lot of damage as a 110. She's a monster, an absolute monster. Now these three Awaken units, obviously, Awaken Nayubin, Awaken Yuna, and Awaken Lee Soo-yeon, absolutely. Alright, so Awaken units, they benefit so much from the extra stats, and you're going to use them in PvP a lot. The only Awaken unit that's not worth it, in my humble opinion, is going to be Lee Jisoo. Now, you know, if you want 210 Lee Jisoo, sure, you can. But especially Awaken Nayubin is going to be your priority. I would say Awaken Nayubin and Awaken Yuna, these two definitely gets so much from the extra stats. Awaken LSY as well, when she enters the battlefield, she does so much damage. 110 does way more damage than 100 for sure. So these three characters, yes, absolutely. Waste your fusion cores on them. They are hashtag worth it. Now, Veronica, I know this is going to be a hot take. I'm going to place them as equal to everyone here, and I think she should be the priority. I do think that 110 Veronica does way more damage. Alright, she does so much damage, and she doesn't need the tankiness per se, but the damage that she does is just insane. Alright, and you know, as someone that has Veronica and someone that uses Veronica a lot, I would argue that, you know, she's so worth it because she's also very good in PvE, in a lot of stages to cheese a lot of things. Rearm Estarossa might not be here for a while. She's definitely worth it to 110. Now moving on, we have Lycoris. She's an R unit that global is not yet to have, but I'm going to place her right here because you're going to get a lot of R units easily. Mona is kind of good, but I'm going to place her right here. You know, she's not easy to get. You cannot farm her shards. But she's also not too bad as a unit. She has the ability to seal boss's skill, which is quite rare. So I'm going to place her right here, only if you have extra, alongside with Lin Xian and Roy Brunette. Now Lily, despite her being a supporter, she is a damage dealer. Alright, she's a supporter, but she's a damage dealer. So I'm going to place her up here. She does a lot of damage if you build her correctly. So 110, definitely worth it for someone like Lily. Now moving on, we have the Kang Min Wu, if I remember correctly, that's his name. He shouldn't be a priority because he can be farmed in the event. So definitely he's going to be right here for sure. Now, Leori, definitely. Now this girl is a beast, is a monster, but I don't think she's like the super priority. Alright, I'm going to place her next to Karine Wong, Geiyon, slightly below the utmost priority. Now keep in mind that these two tiers can be interchangeable somewhat. These can be, some of these can be moved up in certain condition, but I think overall perspective in PvE, do you use her more than Karine Wong and Geiyon? Probably not, right? In PvE, I would argue that even Chifuyu is more useful. So do you 110 her? In PvP, yes, right? So since she's hindered by PvE, I'm going to put her slightly below. Now, Replacer King, of course. This guy is a beast. He's a demon. He's one of the strongest unit ever. He's toxic, he's cancer, 110. Absolutely worth it. Now, this sniper, definitely not too bad of an option, 210, but I don't think should be a priority either. He is not exactly strong and not super meta in PvE, right? In PvP, definitely you can use him. But because I feel like his usage might be slightly behind Adele, but not by much. I still feel like he's a counterpass character. Most players do have him at 106, but I'm going to place him behind Adele for the time being, and I feel like it's fair for them to be in the same tier, like even though the difference is not that huge. Awaken Sio Yun is a monster, alright? In the contents that you need her in, she's definitely going to be needing the extra stats for sure. So definitely utmost priority once Awaken Sio Yun comes, definitely. Harap, nope, you don't need her to be 110. Her ability is reliant on her skill haste. As long as you're whipping someone, stealing their unions, it's much more of how you deploy her rather than the extra stats that she needs from the fusion core. So I'm gonna place her right there. Serappel, okay, now this is going to be interesting. Serappel is a must to 110. I think she is the priority. You can see the difference later on once she arrives in PvP or in PvE. A level 110 Serappel tanks way more. Especially her kit is designed for her to, whenever she receives more damage, she can also dish out more damage. So that way she benefits so much from the extra stats from the fusion cores. Alright, so I'll definitely place her in the utmost priority. Now, Replacer Queen, of course, she is the best sniper in the game in my opinion. Some might argue that Xiaolin is better, but I still think that she's slightly better because she's 5 cores and she has the ability to hit air. Now, Xiaolin depends on the stage, but in most cases, hit air, of course, right? 110, definitely. Now, moving on, we have the Regenerated Knight. This guy, this girl, is a big note for me. I'm gonna put her right here. She's strictly a PvP unit, right? At least, like in these units here, at least they can have some use in PvE. For her, I'm going to place her right here in the almost nope. Now, Replacer Bishop. She does get a lot from the stats, but she has fallen off ever since because of the lack of there's just way more rearms now, and rearm characters definitely benefit from the leader. But I think in PvE stage, there might be some occasion you can cheese certain Shadow Palace with her. So I'm going to place her right here. Some usage for sure, but not exactly top priority. Now, Rita is definitely a must. Alright, she's a supporter that needs 110, and I noticed that she does a lot of damage as a 110 unit. So even though being a supporter, but damage dealer in most cases, 110, definitely hashtag worth it. Dash, definitely nope, because she is farmable, so I'm going to place her somewhere here. Now, Spyra, arguably, she is strong, but because she is also hindered by her PvE usage, right? I don't see where you really need her specifically in PvE. Not to say that she cannot be used. She's like same like Zhou Xiyang, right? It's like she doesn't excel particularly in the stage in PvE, but she's way better than Zhou Xiyang in PvP. So I feel like she's somewhere here. Now, Ministra, being one of the strongest Awaken, sort of a lot of people have been saying she is the Awaken Sio Yun replacement. So definitely she deserves to be the utmost priority for sure. Naya Blue Steel. Now, this one is going to be kind of interesting. Naya Blue Steel, because she's so good in PvP, in Rushcom, she's going to be right here. But again, in PvE, it's a bit hindered. You don't use her that much. So I'm going to place her right here. She does benefit from the stats more than anyone else because she does go in front and tank a lot. So in most cases, Naya Blue Steel is going to be somewhere right here along the likes of Chifuyu and Admin Swords Fighter. Now, Sky Layfield, again, supporter. She doesn't really need the bonus stats for her. Same goes for Artilana. As for the KC Bin is an interesting one. She's going to get buff in the future. For now, she's just not that strong. So I'm going to place her right here. If you want 110, definitely she can tank way better. But because she's a little bit hindered in her PvE usage as well, right? So I'm going to place her right here for the time being. Awaken Amy. Now, this is going to be arguably a difficult decision. A lot of players are going to place her in the top tier. Now, I did say most Awaken units right here are kind of strong, alright, and 110 definitely makes a lot of sense. But Awaken Amy is similar to Replacer King, where they are both very, very strong in PvP, but they are almost garbo in PvE. You almost never use them. But at least Replacer King, there's still some stage, Shadow Hall, Shadow Palace, you can use Replacer King easily. Alright, some of the Danger Close, I forgot which boss, there's 2 boss or 3 boss, you can use Replacer King. Already better than Awaken Amy in my humble opinion. So again, this is just going to be my opinion. I feel like Awaken Amy has to be 1 tier below Replacer King. So I'm going to place her right here. She should or shouldn't be, it's going to depend. If you play PvP a lot, definitely. But because hindered by PvE usage, I'm going to place her right here. Alright, now we have Mikka Star. Same applies. I don't think she needs any bonus stats. Same goes for Glitch. This guy is used for food for E1. Now, Overflow. Now we're talking. Now we're talking about my muscular dude. Now this guy is insane, alright? I know not many people is good. A lot of people are big Serappel fan. I can understand that. Serappel is waifu and stuff. But I do think that this guy replaces Serappel for me. In most PvE stage that I used to use Serappel, I use him. He tanks way better. And that's because I have good soldier gears. Alright, if you don't have good soldier gears, you have good counter gears, I can understand Serappel is better. He does less damage. He's very niche in terms of he charges forward and he push back. But I just think that he's way better because he stays in spot. Overflow never get pushed back because of his passive skill. He has an ability that always makes him stay on that spot, whereas Serappel gets knocked around and thrown around like paper sometimes. So which is kind of frustrating. In some of the Danger Close, in some of the Shadow Hall, Shadow Palace, I feel like Overflow, his ability to tank, super. So I'm going to place him right here in priority, 110 for sure. I am so happy that I have 110 Overflow. Now E1, I think it's fair to put this guy beside Awaken Amy, right? So because Amy is like hindered by PvE usage, good in PvP, and if you build him, it's strictly a PvP unit, but otherwise it's like, you know, not gonna use that much. Lonely doesn't need the extra stats, so she needs to be somewhere here. Machine Collector, ooh, she's a complicated one. I feel like same applies for her. She doesn't need the extra stats, but I feel like she should be 1 tier higher than the rest of here. Now this one, Lara Jaeger definitely is a complicated one. She's a tower unit. I don't see much of a usage in PvE yet, so I'm going to place her right here at a nope, unless you're a whale. Lucid is not here yet in C server, so I'm going to place her, not place her in any tier for the time being. Lucretia and Sio Yun is a little bit complicated. Right, now Sio Yun, that arguably, in most cases, probably not. If your Sio Yun can counter in the usage, in PvP, yes, you need him to be 110, but I'm more talking about PvE. I feel like right now in Britra, where he's used, getting the extra stats do benefit you to survive. But I feel like if you have good enough gears for her to survive, I feel like he probably doesn't need it as much. But then again, he can be used in some Danger Hole, Danger Close, or Shadow Hall, Shadow Palace content. Now Lucretia is a bit complicated. I don't think she should be the priority either, since all she does is more towards her deployment that gives immortality to units. So I'm gonna place her right here. Alright guys, so there, I'm done. Again, take this all with a grain of salt. This is just my opinion and my own preference on how I view each of these units in both their cases of PvP and PvE usage. Obviously, if they are very useful in both PvP and PvE, I'm going to place them higher in the tier list because it makes sense, and the extra stats have to make sense as well. So yeah, that's the list, my Fusion Core priority tier list. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. I'm going to try to save this and give you guys a link as well in the description below. I have no idea how, but hopefully I'll be able to do that. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video guys. It's a long one. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully, if you guys disagree with anything, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you haven't already subscribed, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.